Court will come to order. It is Monday, July the 25th, 2022. It's 9 o'clock in the morning and the Kerr County Court is now in session. If you would, please stand for the pledge and the prayer which I will lead. Good and gracious God, we give you thanks for all of our blessings. We give you thanks for where we live and for the people that are our neighbors and friends. We ask that you grant us wisdom and compassion as we try to do the people's work today to your glory. We ask all this in your Son's name. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Everyone, please turn your phones to vibrate or off so that it doesn't interrupt the proceedings. And as usual, the first item of business is public input. So we've got one person here that has asked to address the court. We ask that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes. And just a reminder that this is input where we listen to you. We don't get to respond back. So, it's John Sheffield.
Your Honor, Commissioners, thank you for your time. My name is John Sheffield. I own the Old Eden Grocery. This October I will complete 22 years with the Old Eden Grocery. And the past 2 years, and let's say not quite a half, it's been quite a ride. Unlike anything I've ever seen in the time of being at the store, owning and managing. First we had COVID, and we had runs. We were there to try to take care of best we could. Tremendous amounts of sales, but very little profit. Because each week that we purchased, we sold, and by the next week, we took that profit to go and buy more. Kind of simple concept. The problem is the way, as fast as things were going up, we were not covering good enough. And that's true of a lot of the businesses I've talked to, and people that come into the store, because there's quite a few. Then, there was a little bit of a slowdown, couldn't find employees. That's kind of a trend, still ongoing. And now we have an economic situation, much like our drought, unfortunately, with rain. We're kind of having a drought with money. People are doing with a lot less in their pockets at the end of the day. And I'm speaking of businesses in Kerr County. I've talked to many of them, a majority of them. Kind of got in my way to do that, just to see if I'm doing something wrong or if it's actually the way things are going on. There are some companies that have better sales, but they did also comment that profit's much smaller. I was reading in the paper about 2 months ago that Kerr County had an increase in sales tax of 2.96%, I believe they came out to, correct me if I'm wrong, from May 2021 to May 2022. Well, I would put into the fact that you hear about inflation being at 9.1, that fuel and food are not included in that. I've talked to many business owners about how much things cost them now, or within that time period, said at any one time, 20%. A gain is always great, guys, but as far as the actual businesses, we needed to be at a 20% increase to keep pace because of the inflation, or selling the same amount as what we sold before. Like I said earlier, talk to people about their health care, retirements. The stories just go on and on. And at this time, we're having to do everything we can just to get by, to make sure we pay what we need to pay. We're just paying the bills. So at this time, I would ask that we, not only are the people out in the business world of Kerr County having to live within their means, I would ask if we can do that the best we can at this level too. And I certainly appreciate your time. Thank you again.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay. Commissioners' comments. Precinct 1.
I don't have anything to relay. Oh, well, I do have one thing. There is there's going to be a change in one of our camps in Kerr County. And I went recently to a meeting to discuss this. This is over by Northwest Hills. It's been Assembly of God camp. And it's going to be for young men. It's stage 2 of a camp that they have in Bastrop for kids that have gotten themselves in trouble, not severe kind of problems, but this is where they're going to be located for phase 2, that if they graduate this, they get to go home, they get to get out of it. So they're on their best behavior here. But a lot of residents in the area over there, Northwest Hills, Box S, Aqua Vista, all those areas, they were very concerned and upset. The operation that's coming in was very patient with them, very transparent about what they're doing. And at the end of it, instead of, people went in riled up, but it just showed me again that when we listen for a little while, oftentimes things aren't as bad as they sound like. Certainly not as bad as they ever are with the Kerrville Rimmer Mill. So it is good to listen and wait. I wanted everybody to know there's going to be a change out there. You may see it, you may know it, you may notice something different, things going on. That's what it is. And they're going to be doing it pretty quick before the end of the summer.
Commissioner Gibson is out today. Precinct 3.
I don't really have any other than what everyone knows is hot and dry.
Needs some rain.
Yeah, we need the rain, and speaking of camps, I went out with the sheriff and Jason the other day to Camp Stewart and got the tour, ate lunch with all the kids and what have you, and had a good day. They were hard at it, kids running everywhere. It was good.
Well, camping is one of our major industries here.
Without a doubt.
Very good. So with that, we'll move on to the consideration agenda. First item is 1.1, which is an update regarding SWBC supplemental insurance options and rates. Ms. Hernandez.
Good morning, Commissioner and Judge. I do have a handout I wanted to give everybody. And this is to update you guys on the rates for the SWBC. They had stated that they had a locked-in rate for another additional 24 months. They have not increased. This is, of course, employee driven, so there's no cost to the county. It stays as is.
Okay.
And there's really no action on this. It was,
Right.
I talked to Rosa last week, and there will be an action item coming up, but it came in kind of late, and we just had to get the information before, and we'll take that, once we get the contract and all that done, we'll do that at our next meeting.
So if the price stays the same, is this going to be like a bag of tater chips, same price, same bag, less chips?
You'll have to ask them. This is our supplemental, these are options that all our employees can get. It doesn't cost the county anything, but it's deducted out of their paycheck, and there will be open enrollment coming up, and what were the dates we decided on, Rosa?
We decided the 8th and the 9th of August.
Yeah, 8th and 9th, and SWBC will be here to explain all of their different programs.
But the takeaway is that the price didn't go up. Okay. That's the important part.
Yes.
But there's no action to be taken on this?
Not today.
Okay, very good. Always good to get good news.
Yes.
Item 1.2, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to add the Juneteenth federal holiday, Monday, June 19th, 2023, to the existing county holiday schedule for FY23.
Yes, I believe this has come before the court before, and I believe it was not granted, I believe. Well, it was not added last year, I believe. But they are asking to reconsider adding this to the holiday list. The Juneteenth.
No, it never made it here.
Oh, okay.
No, I think she's referring like the county holiday schedule has already been approved.
Right, county holiday
Yes.
schedule.
Exactly.
But we've
So
never
this-
discussed Juneteenth.
We have not.
Oh, I'm sorry. So we are requesting to see if we can add the Juneteenth holiday to the already approved list of holidays. It is it is a federal holiday as of the 2021. Let me back up. It became a federal holiday as of 2021. So we are asking to see if it would be, if you would consider it to be a federal holiday for the next schedule year, sorry.
I think what you're really asking us to do is to add it to our holiday schedule.
Correct.
Because it has never been considered by this court.
Correct.
Okay. That's a different matter.
Yeah, this is one of those, for me, I don't know that we want to increase all, if we do this, we're just increasing holidays across the board.
I agree.
And the reason to do it on the other side would be, it's a federal holiday, banks closed and all that other stuff. You know, I look at it as that if I was to add it, what would I take away? And I don't see anything I'd take away. Because I think we're pretty much in line with all federal holidays now.
I'm looking at the county attorney, because it's a federal holiday, does it get shoved down our throats?
We adopt our own holiday schedule.
Okay, then
Well, it was a Texas holiday before it was a federal holiday. They've co-opted it. Just want to remind y'all that.
I have a question. Is there a certain number of holidays that y'all are allowed to approve, or
No.
you can approve? Okay.
No, in fact, I was going to walk down memory lane when I was first on the school board. One of the first motions I made, we had on the school board in those days back in January, and the stock show came up, and we didn't have Martin Luther King Day as a holiday. But we did have a day, Friday, to go to the stock show, which everybody knows. And so I made a motion that we adopt Martin Luther King Day. Well, it did not pass. Stock show was much more important than Martin Luther King Day. But, and I say that just as a reference that we can adopt whatever holidays we choose. And I will tell you and admit that I have never had more holidays in my life until I was elected to this job. True. I mean, we have holidays for everything. Ms. Lands?
I just would like to address the court. The only thing I asked for it to be added on is because some of the services we provide, we have to use the postal service. We cannot issue passports. Postal service is closed, so on that day, you know, again, we take a lot of money in like the other offices, the treasurer. There's no banking that can be done, so that is what brought this up. We were asking to be considered onto the holiday schedule.
Rose, do you have any idea of what the city's doing? Just out of curiosity, like we need to follow the city?
I do not know what the city is doing. I have not asked them what they did or have done. I do know that Kendall County did adopt it. Medina County is requesting to adopt it as well. I think she said that they were going before the court in a couple of weeks to adopt it as well. But that one's still up in there.
which county are you talking about?
Medina.
Medina County.
I looked at it the other day, for last year, not this, but I saw that Kendall did, Gillespie
Yes.
didn't, and Bandera did.
Right.
So, you know, I don't see adding holidays would be a good thing for the county. We take off enough as it is.
Well, the litmus test is, do we have a motion?
Well, I'll make the motion.
Okay. That we adopt Juneteenth
We adopt
as
Juneteenth.
part of our holiday schedule? Okay, I'll second that. Got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Yes, I want to say I make the motion because of what it stands for.
Right.
I don't give a rip about the federal government. I care about the citizens of Kerr County.
Well, I agree, it's an important holiday to be recognized and everything, I just want to take it off.
I mean, I think, to me, we need to, if we accept that, we should take one off. And the only one that I can even possibly see taken off is Columbus Day. The Veterans Day. is
Well,
not-
now you've started a fight.
But I just don't see anything else that I would support taking off the holiday schedule, so I'll leave it the way it is.
So we want to keep the same number of holidays and not, you're just trying to keep from adding a holiday, paid holiday.
Right. Keep it
But
up.
the problem with the banks and the post office is still the same,
Right.
whether it's Columbus Day or whether it's Juneteenth.
didn't know what you called it. Is it still Columbus Day? I thought they changed it to some other name.
Now you're really starting to fight.
Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Those opposed? It does not pass. We have one absent today. So moving on to item 1.3. Consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the county payroll schedule for FY 2022-23 based upon court-approved county holidays.
Good morning.
Ms. Oldham.
I gave you two different schedules based on what you did on the previous agenda. So there is one there that does not take into consideration the Juneteenth holiday for when timesheets are due for payroll processing.
And you're asking us to approve the payroll
The payday
schedule
schedule
subject
for-
to that holiday
Yes.
I move for
schedule.
approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve as presented. Any discussion?
Just a question. You have Juneteenth on this schedule.
She's got two.
I submitted two.
So, okay, sorry.
And we're adopting one without Juneteenth.
Yes.
Because it didn't pass.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Item 1.4, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve a contract with Bear Financial Equipment Services for ATM machine located at the courthouse. Ms. Oldham.
So I think most of you know that Security State Bank was going to have to remove the ATM that we currently have here because it's not in compliance for,
ADA?
thank you, it just went out of my mind, thank you. They did find a company that will service it and that will add Braille and a headphone jack to it for us, and they will take over maintenance of that ATM. There is no cost to the county. It's just really removing it from the bank and giving it to this other company that will come in and service it and bill it. The county attorney has looked over the agreement and we've made some modifications and now it's submitted to you for approval. And for the county judge to sign if you do approve.
I move for approval.
Okay, we've got a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? This doesn't change anything really, does it?
No.
Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. 1.5, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to authorize a nominating committee to seek nominations and submit an application to the Kerr Chamber of Commerce for a county employee to participate in the Kerr County Leadership Class of 22-23, and the application fee to be paid out of the current year's budget. Ms. Oldham.
This is what we've done. I believe this is year 5 or 6 now. We come to the court, ask you to approve a nominating committee. We find some applicants that are interested, vet them, and then bring it back to you for approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the Chamber of Commerce Kerr County Leadership Class for 22-23.
Generally, that nominating committee has been myself, the county attorney, and the HR director.
Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. 1.6, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to apply for a county feral hog grant.
Good morning. This grant opportunity has come across my desk through Commissioner Harris, and basically what it is, I think initially it was the CHOMP grant through the Texas Department of Agriculture that started back in 2016. Kerr County has had it in the past, and it's one of those hit or miss. You either get funded or you don't. There's limited funds available. It is now going through the Texas A&M Ag Life Extension Service, and it is a program to help the counties receive assistance to continue local activities which may range from educating the landowners on abatement methods, coordinating trapping and hunting programs, and addressing the public safety hazards related to feral hogs. Since Texas has the largest feral hog population in the United States. And so this is some grant funding to just try again to get a grant that we have received in the past to kind of address the problem that we do have here in our county.
I've been applying for it the last couple of years and without much success. There's more and more people with their hands out, more and more counties, and it's getting tougher. And I was hoping, well, the expertise might help us a little bit. And so I'll show her, give her the information I've been filing, and I think some of it even goes back to when Bob Reeves filed for it, and see what we can get done.
It is very limited as far as the applicant, they anticipate applicants, but it looks like they plan on awarding about 15 grants ranging from 5,000 to 20,000. So the likelihood is not high, but if we keep trying, maybe one of these years we will actually be able to receive it and address this problem.
Well, I guess the two comments that I would make is, number one, for the public, if you don't know it, feral hogs are a problem. They're a huge problem for land management. And the second thing is, I've also been a big proponent of our grant administrator. We're trying to look to fund some of our operations with more grants. And so to take her expertise and apply it to feral hogs looks like a good combination to me. So I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the application to apply for grant for feral hogs.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. Thank you, Noel.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I've got half the staff of the Hill Country Crisis Council in the courtroom. Let me call item 1.7, which I put on the agenda, which is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to form the Sexual Assault Recovery Team, the SART. And Brent, if you would, introduce yourself and your staff.
Thank you. I tried to get them to come up here.
Yeah, I'd like one too.
I'm Brent Ives, Director for Hill Country Crisis Council. I have with me Kim Olden, Clinical Director, Director of Trauma Informed Services. I also have Suzanne Tomerlin, who is Development Director for us, Volunteer Coordinator, Outreach, those type of things. And yes, we have, I was not at the meeting a couple of weeks ago, but I believe Pam and the staff were together along with yourself, Your Honor, and I guess a development meeting, a planning meeting about creating a sexual assault response team here in Kerr County and possibly into some of the surrounding counties, and who all should be invited to that per, I guess, mandate.
Per statute.
Yeah, per statute, exactly, thank you. And so I understand that the next step is that there be a resolution made by the Commissioner's Court to support that development. I believe that's where we are.
Yeah. Well, I think where we are, and just so the public knows where we are, let me identify the people that were part of the organizing committee to do this. We've got our county attorney, Heather Stebbins. We've got our crime victims coordinator, Pam Peter. We've got Ms. Olden and Ms. Tummerline, and myself, and we met without you. You were out on vacation, I think, that week.
Yes, sir.
And the whole purpose was to organize and make some progress towards getting a committee. The statute requires us to have a SART, Sexual Assault Response Team Committee. And we did that, and there are very specific statutory guidelines that the legislature has given us to follow, which including prosecutors and people that treat victims of sexual assaults, as well as the Hill Country Crisis Council. And so with that, and we decided not to do it by personality, but by position. That we need somebody from the prosecutor's office, or we've approached the 198th District Attorney's Office to help us with that. And then we have, I'll defer to Kim and Suzanne on the others.
Chief of Police, somebody from the police
Sheriff.
department, somebody from the sheriff's office, somebody from the SANE, the Sexual Assault Nursing Examiners portion of Peterson Hospital.
Right?
And then, an investigator, but without that. Mental health provider. That's us.
And so we decided to do it by position so that you can designate somebody to attend. For instance, if the sheriff couldn't make it, he could send Jason. But that way we will have continuity with the sexual assault response team. And so that's the resolution that I'm making, is that we go ahead and appoint this committee as provided by statute, as we agreed to recommend these positions and get this started, because we have until the end of the year to adopt the policy.
And also, this sexual assault response team is a critical resource for the counties that it serves. It's a coordinated effort to have better outcomes for survivors of sexual assault, whether it be the healing piece of that, the justice piece of that, or the restoration of their lives. So it is a very critical piece to what we do in victim services collectively.
Yes, and let me clarify with regard to the resolution that we're putting together this committee. We're actually nominating the committee by position. Is we decided to start with Kerr County, and then we will reach out to our neighboring counties. But we're going to get it started here first, and then once we've got it in place, then we can reach out to Bandera, Gillespie, or other neighboring counties that the statute permits us to do. So that's the motion that I'm making.
So that'll be one that'll serve all. We're not setting up committees like this in other counties. There'll be representatives from those counties that are part of this one.
This will be the SART team, the committee, the one that we're putting together right now. It will be the number one. What we do in the other counties, we haven't figured out yet how we're going to do that. That's what we wanted to do, is go ahead and get this started, get our policy in place, and then be able to reach out to them and see how we want to interface. Whether they want to have a subcommittee or they want to have representatives. The fear is that we put together a committee, we decided to be 5 people. If we get 15 people, it gets very unmanageable. And so we're cognizant of that, sensitive to that. And so the idea would be that Kerr County is going to do this, and we will be the committee. And then as we bring in the other counties, we'll come back and tell you what we've negotiated with them on how to do it.
Second.
Question I have is, who's the chief administrator?
Chief Administrator?
Well, I mean, on the county will appoint chief administrator, all the rest of them are more clearly defined. So
Well, in the urban counties, I think they contemplate actually hiring somebody to do that, but it will be somebody from the county. That will be a county position.
But I guess that doesn't, who fills in the names? I mean, yes, the sheriff can do his, city, the police chief can do that one, but there's several that are not as specific. I mean, that I recognize that. Like, I don't know who's the chief administrator. Who appoints
Chief Administrator is going to be the county.
Okay, so
That's us.
We'll appoint somebody.
Huh?
We'll appoint.
Well, for the time being, I'm working with the ladies to try to get this done.
so
So
you'll be the chief administrator?
for now,
Okay. That's what
hopefully
I'm
not
trying to
too
get at.
long, but for now.
Had pride out of it.
It does not have to, yeah, like you said, for now, it does not have to stay that way. It could be any one of the member organizations, you know, to be the chief administrator.
And I'm wondering that role, as that chief administrator, is it like a coordinator? Because in a lot of these models that we use that are already in place, like the multidisciplinary team that we use with law enforcement and DFPS and prosecutors now, there's an actual lead to that team. There's a coordinator that organizes things, and I'm wondering if that's that individual.
Administrator is administrator.
Okay,
And
fair enough.
y'all are the experts. So y'all are going to be leading these case discussions.
So for the time being,
That would be a county position.
county position. But does it come back to the court for us to fill in these names, or?
No, the resolution creates that committee and they'll fill in names.
And that's, well, then shouldn't it say that the county judge or his designee or the chief administrator? I guess, I don't know who becomes that person.
The bylaws.
I'm fine with the saying county judge or designee, but
Okay.
we copied this straight out of the statute.
Okay.
This is what the legislature told us to do, and we copied it and brought it to you and said, that's what we're going to do. We're going to comply.
Okay. Right. Now I understand.
By guess and by golly.
Well, I can tell you, the ladies do the work.
Right.
All I did was call a meeting.
But when you have something new thrown in your lap, you got to figure out how to make it work. So, to be perfectly honest, nobody knows that just yet, and it'll take
We have a
form.
lot of assistance, like at all that we could have from the Texas Association Against Sexual Assault. They actually wrote the legislation to be approved, and we've been on webinars, or I have, I'm sure Brent and Kim have, and they tell you that over and over. That's where we got the template for the resolution, and they have a template for bylaws, and I believe the template for urban protocol. and for rural protocol. So we can call them anytime. We're in pretty good shape as far as not having to walk blind in this. Thank goodness, because it could be a very complicated process, to get it right, but we have a lot of help. And Judge Kelly, I've never been in a meeting with him, and it was like, wow, he knows how to run a meeting.
Well, if you remember, how we got here was, the legislature passed it, and apparently sent me notice of it that I overlooked or did not read or missed, and I get a phone call, or actually email from Brent reminding me we got to do this and we should have done it last year. And so we discussed it in here. We put together this organizational committee to begin the process. And that's what we've been, is trying to get it started. This is the formation of the actual committee itself that will be the official SART team that we can report to the state that we now have a committee. And then they will come bring back to us bylaws and bring back to us policies that will ultimately be adopted and put in place. And then when we start reaching out to the other counties, they'll bring us back what those discussions have been with the additional counties. But this is step 2. And we'll have step 3 by the end of the year, which will be the policy. Any other discussion? Okay, those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Thank you, Brent.
Thank you for
Thank you,
supporting
ladies.
step
All of
2.
you. All of you.
Yes. Very much.
Item 1.8, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to surplus a printer. Ms. Stebbins.
I have a very old printer that needs to be recycled.
Do we need to call the Daily Times?
Yes, probably.
This is just routine.
Yes.
Remove for approval.
Thank you.
Got a motion and a second to surplus the printer, the old printer in the county attorney's office.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. 1.9, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to update the job description for Human Resources Department Director. Mr. Lentz.
I believe everyone has a copy of it in the backup. When I read through it, I thought we needed a few changes. The first sentence that's highlighted, I just changed the wording slightly. The second area is language that I added, which says the Human Resource Director will be the primary point of contact for all county insurance programs and be responsible for overseeing all insurance policy claims and reviews. And the HR or Human Resource Director will help coordinate with county departments to facilitate safety and training programs for county employees. Those items weren't in the original, and those are pretty big parts of that job, in my opinion. And then on the education experience on the second page, it used to say 2 to 4 years experience. I increased it to 4 to 6 years. And then I added, there's some other language that I took out that I thought was confusing, and added the sentence, experience in county government is preferred but not required. And we posted the old one, and Bruce said that as soon as if we make this change, this one just be uploaded instead of the other one. I'll make a motion to approve the revised job description.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the revised job description. And the only input that I would offer is, you say county government, maybe we should say local government, because there are different types of local government experience which would be similar. I mean, I prefer county number 1.
Right. Or county or local.
Whatever you want to do. But I just know that there may be people from municipalities, there may be people from other governmental entities where they do have some experience that would be valuable, but it wouldn't necessarily be, quote, county experience.
I agree. I don't want to get us in a boxed in and eliminate people that read it and say, and the 4 to 6 years, we might not get somebody like that. I don't know.
I'd like to
That's
try.
limiting.
I'd like to try.
Without a doubt.
Well, there's always, I mean, back to.
That's what you prefer, that's not.
Without a doubt.
Right. But I think, yeah, so it's an experience in county or local government.
And you might say 4 to 6 years preferred.
Okay. Okay, I'm fine with the.
Okay, any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. 1.10, is this the one we're going to save for
Well,
executive session.
we
Let me call it. Number 110 is consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to interview and possibly hire a firm to assist with the Human Resources Department.
I visited with had to send an email out originally with a couple of firms that do this type of work. It seems to me that it would be, I think it's going to take a while to fill the HR director position. And I called this company, the only one I talked to. They seem very helpful. They provide interim HR directors. They're, and among other types, I mean, they do any kind of government, city managers, you know, all kinds of departments. I talked to the gentleman, Wendell Medford. It seems like a good idea to me. I talked to him again this morning. I said that, you know, I didn't know if the court how the court would want to proceed. He will be available if we need to call him back later on. That'll probably be done in executive session or get into the details of the contract, but it's not listed as an executive session item, so I think you know, anyway, the basic way it works, they would have an interview with somebody, you know, or multiple people in the county to figure out exactly what the job entails. The salary that the interim person will be paid is the same as is in our budget. You take the roll-ups and the current salary, divide it by 2,080, which is the number of work days a year, and you come up with an hourly rate. And so that person is paid the same as really we had budgeted. So it doesn't have a negative budget impact. There are a couple of, depending on, there's a flat fee for doing background checks and a few other things. But it's pretty much within the budget if we were to do this.
Their services are within the budget?
Yeah.
What they really do is take whatever we spend on the HR position and basically amortize that over the number of work hours in a year and charge on an hourly basis for what they actually do. The same as what we're paying. It's push, wash.
And the caveat being that the person that they recommend or persons that we visit with have to agree to that. But they said, I told them about the budget, they said they didn't think that would be a problem with our budget line on. But that'd be the next step. The other thing they can do, and this doesn't cover that, they will look for an HR director for you. That's a different department than he is with. Brought that up as a search, you know, they basically have a search committee side.
Like a headhunter.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, anyway, it's on the agenda because it's new. I didn't know if the court thought this was a good idea, a stupid idea, or what. So, it's this discussion. We could ask Mr. Medford to come down at some point and explain it. We could
He's available by
proceed.
phone.
Yeah, he's available by phone, but
We could do it in executive session if you wanted to talk to him today.
And he says we can't do it because it's not posted.
Oh, okay. Very well.
We don't have a contract negotiation item posted in there, but you could authorize someone today to enter into those negotiations with the firm and have them come back at another
With the
meeting.
contract.
And y'all can talk about the contract.
I mean, it's pretty, the package is pretty, I don't, you know, we got there probably on Friday when I got it. It's pretty all-encompassing. I mean, it kind of explains their services pretty detailed.
But there's still going to be, regardless, there's going to be candidates that come in here and we talk to.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we're adding another layer to it for what purpose?
Interim person, I think that would be
I
helpful.
get that. I understand that. Are you talking about it as a temp that they find?
Yeah.
And everybody knows that it's going to be interim?
They have a pool of mostly retired people, HR, city managers, you know, probably city attorneys.
Just like they did in Ingram.
Yeah.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
You know, but, you know, it's basically, you know, if we want to proceed or not proceed. If we want to proceed.
Well, can that person do what they're doing in Ingram and help to find somebody that would be a really good candidate?
That's what he does.
Yeah,
Or
that's-
sift through them? Is that the whole purpose?
I visited-
So we have somebody in-house doing the job
Right.
and also interviewing the candidates, which we're gonna end up interviewing also.
Right,
Okay. Let me make sure I understand what you're talking about.
right.
So
So,
one of the things I like about it is it doesn't cost us any more money. It's a neutral issue with regard to our budget.
Now, if we.
I had to buy it, it was on sale.
The interim person, and this is in their agreement, maybe somebody that would like the job. And if it is someone that likes the job and we then hire that person, there is a fee, and I think it's, I'm sure it can be negotiated, it was a flat fee of $10,000 if we were to hire the interim. But there's no obligation to hire the interim. The interim may not want to.
And the
hire.
county pays that, or the?
But anyway, to me, the next step would be to, have them present a formal agreement with us, and then we can bring that back. Probably at a special meeting just to get it moving.
Yeah, the sooner the better, I think.
Yeah. If we have a budget workshop next Monday, we could probably tack it on with that. And would the court like, he lives in Dallas, would the court like him to come down or just be available by phone?
I think phones and something like that.
Okay. All right. And that's what we'll do.
So do we need a motion to,
I think we'll put it on Monday's agenda.
okay? We'll pass it for a week.
Yeah.
Okay, item 1.11, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to pay insurance deductible for damage done to a vehicle in the courthouse parking lot.
We have a situation with our insurance.
It's an act of God. It's an act of God.
That a limb fell in someone's car, damaged the car, and our county insurance doesn't cover that because it's an act of God. Our research shows that this happened once before, and it's not right in my mind that it not be covered by the county. And in that case, we pay the deductible, and then the person just, or we reimburse the deductible to the individual. And I would recommend that we do that again. The deductible is $50.
And to clarify, there's two insurance policies involved here. The county's insurance policy, which is a liability policy. And then there's the employee's policy, which is an automobile policy. And the automobile policy will cover it, but there's a deductible involved. The county's liability does not cover it because the lightning that struck the tree was an act of God. So we're trying to help the employee who parked the car under the tree.
They already had the shady spot.
Not any
That ought
longer.
to be payment enough.
I'll make a motion that we reimburse the employee for the $50 deductible.
I'll second.
It's 100.
100?
$100, sorry.
Well, I don't know if I want to second.
$100 deductible, I'm sorry.
We'll go ahead and eat 2,500.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. We just spent $100. Item 1.12, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to surplus items for the IT department. Ms. Shelton.
Yes, you have a list of items that the IT department is asking to be surplused. It's mainly printers and monitors are the majority of the items.
I move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve surplusing the items as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. 1.13, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to accept quotes from Tyler Technologies for Encode 10 migration services and software for the Content Manager Suite.
Yes, the Treasurer's Office, HR, and IT departments, and the Auditor's Office have been evaluating Encode 10 and content management products by Tyler Technologies. We are recommending the county accept the quote for these services and/or products. The county currently uses Encode 9 for their financial system. The upgrade to Encode 10 will allow the county to expand their number of funds currently limited to 100. Improvements have been made to other areas and include employees will have direct access to some of their payroll information. There'll be easier conversion of financial data into Excel spreadsheets. Purchase orders will be more automated with a dashboard that notifies the supervisor when a PO is ready for signature. For content management, it allows scanning documents that can be placed within the financial system, which will allow the county to get closer to a paperless system. Invoices can be attached to the vendors. Payroll information such as W-4s and I-9s can be uploaded and attached to a particular employee.
per IT, this system should also allow the county to decrease the number of Laserfish licenses. The cost of the Encode 10 migration services is $32,190. Content management cost is $25,578 for a total of $57,768. $60,000 has been placed in the 22-23 budget for these products. The county attorney has looked over the quotes and did not have any changes. And so the recommendation is for Commissioners Court to accept the quotes from Tyler Technology for Encode 10 and content management and have the county judge sign.
What does content management amount to?
It amounts to being able to scan the documents in directly into the financial system. And so with that, we'll be able to look up a vendor and you can see the particular invoice. It'll also allow, like for employees right now, you've got a paper file, personnel file, so we'll be able to move that into the system to where if you need to look at somebody's W-4, they'll be able to go in and it actually attach it to that employee. So we're moving to the paperless system from the paper
Can the
system.
employees access it?
The employees
Their own
will be
account?
able to access certain information, maybe not all information. I believe we're looking into whether or not, like, if you change your address, the employee can go in and change it, and it will notify HR, and HR would have to approve the change, but at least it would cut out some of the paperwork and allow for easier flow.
But I'm still stuck on the content management. Is that storage? I mean, just, if you're getting an upgrade, you're getting an upgrade. Managing something, you're curating, you're archiving, whatever. So what does that amount to? Is that something in the cloud, Bruce?
It's not in the cloud.
No, it's not.
Okay, good.
We're doing it now. It's just not conjoined, and this brings it together. That's what it boils down to. We're doing it in a product called Laserfish now.
Yeah.
This is new and improved version.
But it just brings it all back under the Tyler umbrella. Because
So is that an annual cost?
there will be annual costs, yes, for software.
I mean,
maintenance.
I realize this is gonna be something new, so it costs more, so what will it be thereafter?
The Encode 10 is going to be the same as Encode 9, and the content management annual maintenance is $3,818.
But this is a huge accounting upgrade.
How many accounts will it accommodate?
1,000,
Funds, well, 3 digits, so
1,000.
999. 999.
How many does the county have now?
We have used all 100 phone numbers. We're having to reuse some of them right now, which wipes out history that you have. If we wiped out a grant that we had earlier and we wiped it out because we changed it to another one, then we lose that history of that grant.
Okay.
So we've used all 100.
We tapped out at 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, what happens is when you have unlimited stuff, and Bruce could tell you this, you end up with a lot of trash in there that does need to be cleaned up, so I'm
Yes.
just asking because of that.
Yes.
If you recycle numbers, that's one thing, you can always store that information. But if we have enough accounts that we really need more than 100, then
We need
that's a
more
lot
than
of money we're gonna spend on that.
It is. We also, what started this is we were looking only to migrate to the 100 funds, and it was gonna cost the same as going ahead and making that transition to I-10. And so we opted to transition to I-10 for the same amount of money.
Sure.
Any other discussion?
Do you have a motion in a second?
Need a motion and a second?
I'll make the motion,
Okay.
or I'll second, doesn't matter.
One of
We
those.
got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0.
Thank you.
Okay, item 1.14, consider discuss and take appropriate action to hire employee at a higher step than policy allows based on experience. And this says executive session as needed. Is this something we need to do in executive session?
I guess we'll see, depending on what questions we have, I guess.
I mean, if we talk about
If we name names,
Yeah. Yeah.
we
I
can't
think,
name
I think we
names.
can get through this without naming any
I think we
names
probably, yeah.
Okay.
on this one, but if, I guess if it does go to that.
That's up to
we'll
you.
have to do that, so.
So,
So just kind of a little background. Currently, we have one of our senior investigators from our criminal investigation division tender his resignation and leave. So that leaves our criminal investigation division with 2 investigators with less than 3 years' experience, and we have 2 in training. So the opportunity has come that we can hire an investigator from another agency. That investigator's current salary is much higher than what their salary would be starting with the county. So he would, this investigator would start with the county normally at grade 25, step 3. We're asking to hire this investigator at grade 25, step 6, which is a higher salary than he would normally start at. But keep in mind that the investigator he's replacing is a much higher salary. So it would still result in a salary savings, even though we're hiring this person at a higher staff. It still result in a salary savings.
So it doesn't affect, it affects the budget in a positive way.
This one would go into, yeah, the remainder of this budget year and going into the next one.
But we're hiring somebody in at a higher grade than what.
So this person has experience. They're currently a criminal investigator, so it's mainly they'll come over and just go to work. I mean, very minimal transition, just policies and stuff like that, so it'd be a minimal transition.
I'll second.
got a motion and a second?
So authorized from 25.3 to 25.6?
Yes, that's what we're asking. Grade 25, step 6.
Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. 1.15, consider discuss take appropriate action to revise the job description for the Sheriff's Department employee.
So as you know, the sheriff has been here previously, and a deputy was assigned to the Special Operations Division as a criminal interdiction deputy. What we've kind of learned since he started in March, that what he does specifically doesn't fit within the title of a deputy. Criminal addiction has changed a lot. I used to do it, I started in criminal addiction in the late 90s, and since then it's changed a whole lot. So what we've learned is this particular person is actually works like an investigator. It's pretty cool to watch as they track persons who smuggle currency, narcotics, weapons. They track these people all over the United States now. They're watching. They network between other criminal investigating teams. They work with multiple agencies. We've done cases with DEA. We've done cases with other counties, other cities. So they pretty much work as an investigator, similar to what our narcotics investigators do, except their criminals commit their crimes traveling upon the highways. So they're out there doing criminal addiction, using traffic law to locate and come in contact with these criminal smugglers. He also is the most experienced person on our team. He's pretty much the lead person on this team. And remind you, I don't know if the sheriff did indicate this, that when we recruited him, he agreed to become partisan because he had a passion for this. He took a significant salary decrease from the agency that he came from. So what the sheriff is asking is that we reclassify him from SOD deputy to a SOD investigator, moving him from grade 21.5 step 3 to grade 25 step 3, starting in the new budget year, October 1st. Not in this budget year, but would be part of the next budget year.
So you're changing the job description to justify the change of grade?
Yes. Well, his job is different than what a patrol deputy would normally do. So one thing we did look at is, I know that we've asked for some reclassifications with this upcoming budget year. A couple of things we did look at is some of the salary savings that we will have going into the next budget year. We had two senior sergeants retire in this budget year, replaced with sergeants who have less time with the county, which resulted in some pretty significant salary savings going into the next budget year. So we indicate that with these salary savings, it should offset some of these reclassifications in the salary increases.
I mean, I think this really is, and I mentioned before, and I know there have been other departments that when you get into our more senior people, experienced people, and we need to bring someone in at those levels, those positions, it doesn't they can't hire them as our current policy says, as a one, or, you know, the same type thing.
Right.
And, you know, their overall, I visited the sheriff a little bit about this, and he's got a very young department. He needs to keep some senior people over there, for help, just to help them out and do the training and all that. I think his salary budget is, Jason mentioned, probably, you know, everything else equal, probably less next year than this year, because of the retirements he's had. Of course, we take in, you know, there's some other things that factor into his budget, but I think it makes sense, and I also believe that we should let the departments, you know, within reason, run the departments the way they want to. So I'll make a motion to approve.
I agree with that, but it, just like buying vehicles now that you don't have budgeted, having employees that take a job at a lower pay in anticipation that that will change is not a good practice, and I don't think any department head should do that.
We're not asking.
I'm not accusing
okay.
anybody of anything, Jason.
Well,
I'm just saying,
yes,
it's people see this kind of stuff,
Yes,
and they make note of it, and they think, I could do that. Let's not do that.
Well, we're asking the court on the first consideration that his salary being the investigator, we increase at the time of hire. And then the current employee, we ask that his salary be increased at October 1st with the new budget cycle.
I know.
From my perspective, this sounds like a management decision to address leadership needs.
Yes.
And you've had some of your senior people retired, and you've had others that need to be reassigned
Yes, sir.
in order to be able to keep the continuity of the sheriff's office going.
Yes, sir.
And so I'll second the motion. We've got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Okay, with that, we're going to take our morning break. We'll be back at 5 minutes after 10. order. Timed items at 10 o'clock. The first one is 1.16, public hearing for a revision of plat for Pecan Valley number 2, lots 4 and 5. I convene a public meeting. Is there anybody here that would like to address the court in this public meeting? There being none, then I will adjourn the public meeting. We'll move on to agenda item number 1.17, which is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to approve a revision of plat for Pecan Valley number 2, lots 4 and 5. Mr. Hastings.
Thank you, Judge. This proposal will adjust the lot line between Lot 4 and Lot 5. Lot 4A will become 3.8 acres fronting on Cook Lane and Hobson Lane, and Lot 5A will be 3.79 acres fronting on Hobson Lane. County engineer requests that the court approve a revision of plat for Pecan Valley number 2, lots 4 and 5, volume 4, page 193, precinct 2. And this resolves some issues that between those lots where they've got some structures, I think, on the lot line was what they were trying to solve.
Move for approval.
Got a motion and a second to approve the revision of plat for Pecan Valley number 2, lots 4 and 5. Any discussion?
No.
Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. Call another public hearing for revision of plat. This is item 1.18. Public hearing for revision of a plat for, is that Stacky?
Second.
Stacky Ranch, lots 3 and 4. Is there anyone that would like to address the court on that matter? There being none, we will adjourn that public meeting and move on to items 1.19, which is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to approve a revision of plat for Stacky Ranch, lots 3 and 4. Mr. Hastings.
This proposal revises Lot 3. It's 73 acres as platted, and Lot 4, it's about 64 acres as platted, into 3 lots. Lot 3R will be 12.7 acres, Lot 4R will be 119.5 acres, and Lot 4R1 will be 5.01 acres. Frontage for all lots will remain on Bear Creek Road. County engineer requests the court approve revision of plat for Stacky Ranch, lots 3 and 4, volume 5, page 77, precinct 3.
Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the revision of plat for Stacky Ranch, lots 3 and 4. Any discussion?
This has been a long time coming on this one. They've been trying to get this worked out for years.
Okay, with that, those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. It is done. Item 1.20, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action for the court to conditionally approve a final plat for G&H Acres with the condition that the city of Kerrville approve and sign the plat. Charlie Hastings.
This proposal subdivides 6.5 acres into 3 lots, and it dedicates 0.73 acres as right-of-way along Ranchero Road. Lot 1 will be 2.44 acres. Lot 2 will be 2 acres, and Lot 3 will be 1.33 acres. All 3 lots will front Ranchero Road. It is in Kerrville's ETJ and must be approved by both entities. County engineer requests the court consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to conditionally approve final plat for G&H Acres, and the condition is that the city of Kerrville approves it also and signs it before it gets filed. Now, the city of Kerrville, their policy is they don't want to see a plat till it's got everybody's signature on it. We've accommodated that in the past. We've done this recently where we asked the court to authorize the county judge to sign it. Then it will leave this building and go to the city. The city will get it signed, and they'll bring it back to county clerk for filing. So we're not asking for the county clerk to sign off on it yet. We're only asking for the judge to sign off on it. I have it here because we do have in our regulations, and this is just a little side note, but we do in our regulations say once this gets into the county clerk's hands, it doesn't leave. So I'll bring it to you, Judge, and then if we can just keep it out of Jackie's hands so it can make its rounds before it comes back. That's what we're asking for.
Okay.
Move for approval.
It's okay.
Second.
We got a motion and a second to conditionally approve a final plat for G&H Acres, subject to approval by the city of Kerrville. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. Item 1.21, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the Xerox copier contract 072804700 on the Road and Bridge Department with the Engineering Department and have the county judge sign same. Ms. Hoffman.
For consideration today is our Xerox copy release for your review and approval. Our current lease ends on 9/30 of 2022. Road and Bridge and Engineering split the cost evenly. The new proposal results in an annual savings of $104.40. Monthly expenditures for this new contract will be Road and Bridge pays $56.93 per month out of line item 15-612-461, and Engineering $56.92 per month out of line item 15-601-461. The county attorney has reviewed the lease agreement 0728044700. At this time, I ask the court for their approval for Xerox lease agreement 0728044700 for the Road and Bridge and Engineering departments, and have the county judge sign the same. Thank you for your consideration.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the Xerox copier contract for Road and Bridge and Engineering. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0.
Thank you.
Item 1.22, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to go out for annual bids for delivered fuel. Ms. Hoffman.
We are asking the court to give authorization for us to go out for delivered fuel bids. Once we put out the bids, we will come back to the court to open the bids on September 12th, 2022 at 10 a.m. and also award the bids in court at that time. We do spend over $50,000 on our delivered fuel, and we need to be bidding that.
Move for approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve going out for the annual bids for delivered fuel for Road and Bridge. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the addendum to the agenda. And we've got item 1.23 and 1.24. I'm going to call both of these at the same time so we can discuss them. 1.23 is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the interlocal agreement from the Hill Country Regional Public Defender's Office between the counties of Bandera, Gillespie, Kendall, Kerr, and Medina. Now that is the interlocal agreement. 1.24 is the Oversight Board Committee membership and policies. And that's consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the Oversight Board membership and policies for the Hill Country Regional Public Defender's Office. We met last Friday, and we had changed the fiscal agency for the grant to Medina County. And so we need to approve the paperwork to do that, one of which is the Oversight Committee. The Oversight Committee was formed by this court, Kerr County, because it was a department of Kerr County at that time. And so it was prepared so that Kerr County was the one that actually formed the Oversight Committee. That changes to Medina County now. And so we're changing the name Kerr to Medina on that Oversight Committee. It also changes the membership of the committee. If you recall, every county had 2 members on that, a permanent member, which was a county judge or designee, and then another member. Except for Kerr County, and because we were the host county, we had 3. And so that was Commissioner Letts, myself, and Judge Williams, who is actually the chairman of the PDO. And so that will change so that the host county, Medina County, will have 3 members, and Kerr will go back to 2 members. Well, I say go back. We'll be back, but we'll go to 2 members. And I don't have any problem with that at all to recommend to the court that we approve that for the Oversight Committee. And I will make a motion that we do approve it to shift it back to Medina County, and they will have 3 members on the Oversight Committee.
I'll second, but.
We'll get that one out of the way.
Okay, I'll second, but I still have a.
Yeah. So we've got a motion and a second. Discussion?
Do we have the new,
Yes.
The new ones in there?
We do.
And there's a lot of discussion about how we calculate
That's an interlocal agreement, that's what
I
we're.
know. But there was, our recollection was that there was unclear whether that change would be in the interlocal or in the oversight, to clarify how the caseloads are calculated and all of that.
And
Right
I'm
now.
gonna recommend that it be in the interlocal agreement. And I'll tell the story of that in just a second.
Okay. But
Can't it be in both, for clarity's sake?
Sure,
Reiterated and
we can do that.
then that,
And I'm fine with that.
yeah.
But let's move on to what the issue is. And that'd be back to 1.23, which is to consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to approve the interlocal agreement. The interlocal agreement, first of all, is very broad and general, and it is ambiguous. And when the Oversight Committee met last Friday, we had a heated disagreement about what this agreement means. And a lot of it has to do with what the representations were when we formed the PDO. When we formed the PDO, we wanted to make sure that we allocated the expenses between the respective counties on the basis of actual caseload. We also provide in the interlocal agreement that we have to wait for at least a year, get that first year under our belt, to be able to readjust what the initial allocations are. I'll defer to some of the specifics to our county auditor, but we based what our initial contributions would be on what our history the year before was, as recorded with the Office of Court Administration, the OCA. And Kerr County was at 38% and point something. And then the other 4 counties fell into line, but we were by far the biggest. And we made those contributions for a 15-month period, and I don't want to get off on one. We got an extra 3 months, but that was a generous thing that the state of Texas did for us because we didn't get started in time. So we ended up getting that done, and the interlocal agreement provides that calculation, that photograph, that snapshot in time, takes place on May 31 each year. And so when we did it for May 31, which included a 15-month period, Kerr County's allocation for the total expenses was 30%. Well, that's significantly different between 38 and 30. And because we understood the interlocal agreement to be on the basis of actual caseload, we saw that as probably a credit, not necessarily a check being written, but a credit back to Kerr County for what we paid above what our caseload was. Well, the final accounting, which we have, 3 counties overpaid, for lack of a better term, or actually contributed more than what their allocable share would be, and 2 counties contributed less than what their actual caseload count would be. And it's no surprise that the 2 counties that contributed less than what it would be allocated took the position that the interlocal agreement was ambiguous or unclear, and it would only apply to next year's allocation, and we would lose the 8% that we paid this year.
Of course.
And I think about that point in time, I became conspicuously silent at the board meeting, the committee meeting, because that was not what was agreed. And I can specifically point, we can go back and find it on the calendar if we need to, but a conversation that we had right after we bought the building down there and had a tour, brought all the representatives from the 5 counties in, and met in Andy Murr's office afterwards, where the discussion was, this was not going to be like what we do with the 216th and the 198, based on census every 10 years. This was going to be actual case loads, as it should be. That's the only fair and right thing to do. I was invited at that point as to whether or not I had any proposed language to clarify what we wanted in the interlocal agreement. And I didn't have any off the top of my head at that point, but I would like to clarify this interlocal agreement to put it back to what it's supposed to be, which is on the actual case count. And so with that, we had originally put this on the agenda because we thought we were going to have it approved today because we've got the budgets coming up, and they've got a budget theirs too. But I have reconsidered, and I'm actually pulling the interlocal agreement from the agenda today and disclosing to y'all that what I want to do is to work on editing this so that it accurately reflects what the agreement is. Because the agreement, the verbal agreement at the time was that it was supposed to be on actual case counts, and we would settle up. And if that's just an accounting entry, so be it. There are other ways to handle that. I know with regard to reserve funds, we talked about a lot of different things that I don't want to bore you with right now. But the bottom line is, so that you know how much we overpaid through June 30. I don't overpaid, take that word back. I'll get criticized for using the word overpaid. What we contributed more than our proportionate share of actual caseloads was $76,000. And we still got July and August and September to go. So we've got some skin in this game. So that's why I want to end it.
No doubt.
Anyway, it was a lively discussion.
Yeah.
My question, Judge, is that the oversight is something that is done by Medina County. They do it. And I think the last time all the counties approved the form of it. Are we certain there's not going to be, did that provision come from Judge Schuhart?
What Judge Schuhart did was take the initial interlocal agreement and the initial Oversight Committee membership and policies and changed the name Kerr to Medina. Yeah, that's all he did.
Yeah, and I guess that's what Judge Schuhart wants. I just would rather, if that's what they want to do, and they've approved it as their court already. I just hate to, I don't want to have to redo it again. If there's a change in it, if they decide, oh, well, we need to make some other changes, or some, the Oversight Committee decides, maybe we ought to clarify something else there. So as long as everyone's, comfortable and confident that they're not going to change that, I don't mind approving it. But I just want to make sure that it's going to get changed, or not going to get changed.
With regard to the Oversight Committee, we don't actually adopt their policy. We merely approve their policy. They adopt their own policy just like we adopted our own policy back when we first started the PDO. But the interlocal agreement, I think, needs to be changed to add appropriate language, put this back to an actual caseload allocation between the counties, and we settle up at the end of every year in time for the next fiscal year so we can budget for that. Because the argument that was made is that it was intended to be prospective only and not go back and consider what the actuals were for the existing year.
Not to settle up.
Because if they have to come up with the money, it's not in their budget. But everything is tied to October 1 so that whether it's a cash settle up or whether it's just a credit and debit settle up, all of that will coincide with the next fiscal year so that nobody is short.
That's why they do it when they do it, May 31st.
And I guess, slight hesitation to the oversight thing is one of the things that I've thought, I think there should be more transparency on the Coast County's financial side of it. It's like, I haven't seen the grant that they even applied for. I guess I could do an open record if ever, maybe just call Judge Schuhart and get a copy of it. But I think that there should be certain things that should be sent to all the counties. I think that every county should receive a copy of the budget for the oversight, or for the PDO, and I think that everyone should receive a copy of the grant. It's not in there, if we just ask for it. But
Those records stay in the county, they don't go to the PDO?
well, the PDO will be, we had access to it, or I had access to it when it was here because it was a Kerr County department. I just
Right.
all address it.
Right.
Now that it's Medina County is the host county, it's not going to be as easy for me to find out what's going on.
Were we providing that information when we were handling everything?
We weren't asked. No, we didn't. We did
Yeah,
not
we did.
proactively. Well, I don't know.
She came to every quarter of the meeting we had. It was
So,
provided.
Right. The auditors, but the budget and some of that other stuff. It's not a big. I'm not sure it's a huge issue with it, but it seems to me that the counties should all be more aware of what's in how the PDO is operating than we were. I think we were very forthcoming with it. Maybe no one else cared. I don't know.
well, it seems like that information would all run through the PDO office. So you know what the percentages is from each county of cases. You know what the percentage is based on that, what each county is paying. What else are you trying to find out?
But it's all run through the auditor of Medina County now. It's not run.
I know,
through-
that's why I'm saying, it seems to me, you should be able to access that information from the participating counties through the office of what it's there for, PDO. So if everybody keeps
we
their,
have. Vanessa's been very open with us
Yeah.
on all this.
but if everybody keeps their own records and you have to track it down that way, that doesn't seem very efficient.
Medina has requested records that we did send to them.
Well, this is the way it is, and we can just request a copy of the budget and the grant. Maybe the others don't care.
Well, what I'm asking,
They probably don't.
the consider, discuss, and take appropriate action part of this is, I would like this court's approval to edit the interlocal agreement to clarify that this will be done on an actual caseload basis.
Starting on what date? Are you still gonna try to get the,
Well, this
Get a
interlocal
credit.
agreement will start October 1. So we've got a new date to start.
are we going to request a credit of what was not used, or since you said you don't want
Some
to
sort
check?
of credit. One of the things we're working on is whether or not we need to have reserve funds, like a fund balance for the PDO, because there is a lead time before you get reimbursed.
Right.
But as long as Kerr County gets credit for what it's contributed above what its allocation was for the actual caseload, I'm fine with it. Whether it's a credit, whether it's cash, whether it's whatever it is.
Well, anyway, the motion is second on the oversight policy to approve those. We'll have to deal with that first.
Okay. On the Oversight Committee, there's a motion and a second to approve the membership and policies as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. And then with regard to the interlocal agreement, I would like approval to edit the interlocal agreement to accurately reflect actual case counts.
I move for approval.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. Okay, that gets us through that part of the agenda. Let's go to the approval agenda, which is 2.1, budget amendments.
Yes, you have several budget amendments in front of you. The largest is the first one. These are all due to inflation. Basically, it's your oil and gas and then prisoner meals. Prisoner meals is the largest increase for the cost of the groceries moving forward.
Big one. Move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the budget amendments as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous, 4-0. 2.2, pay bills.
Yes, invoices for today's consideration, $1,670,676.40.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the bills as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. 2.3, late bills.
There are not any.
2.4, auditor reports.
There are not any.
2.5, monthly reports.
Yes, for June 2022 monthly report, County Treasurer Tracy Sullivan. Payroll approval, County Treasurer Tracy Sullivan. Animal Control Services, Director Reagan Gibbons. County Clerk Jackie Beatty Dowdy. And Justice of the Peace, Precinct 1, Mitzi French. Precinct 4, Bill Ragsdale. I move for approval.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the monthly reports as presented. Any discussion?
Yes. Commissioner Harris, did you say both reports for the county treasurer?
Yes.
Both, okay, just want to make sure. Sorry.
Okay, discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. Court orders.
We have our court orders from our July 18th special meeting. The court orders 39423 and 39424. Move for approval.
We also,
Second.
and you got the other ones from civil
Oh, I didn't.
Oh,
law. We didn't do them.
combined? Okay, and also court orders, 39407 through 39422 from Monday, July 11th, 2022. And they all look in order.
So we've got a motion to approve all the court orders as presented. Any discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimous. Information agenda 3.1, status reports from department heads. None. 3.2, status reports from elected officials. None. 3.3, status reports from liaison commissioners. None. And we have no items for executive session, is that
We
correct?
have one.
One item for executive session?
Addendum number 2.
Addendum number 2.
Here it is.
Okay. The one at 2 o'clock?
Oh, that's,
Oh, no, it's
There's another one.
4.4A on this agenda.
4.4A. Okay, well, the court's going to go into recess and reconvene in executive session to consider A, consider, discuss, and take appropriate action to authorize the county judge or designee to negotiate real estate transaction.
There's somewhere.
So with that, we will be in recess, and we will reconvene in executive session. Court will come back to order. It's 11:02. We're out of executive session, and I think we have one liaison.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, at our last commissioners report, we talked about having that, today having on the agenda that EMS and first responders and that whole program. I talked to Chief Maloney, he could not be here today, but he can be here at the budget workshop next week and plans to be by, he can explain that whole first responder program and where the city's going and what the money's used for and all the questions that came up that I could answer.
That'd be good.
Okay.
Okay, with that, we're adjourned.